I don't know if you saw it or if you're paying attention, but at the time of this recording, interest rates hit 7% again. Now, in November, we kind of went above 7.5%, and that's the highest we'd seen in a while. So people are probably going to start freaking out. But what it shows you is that the market is ever changing in 2023. And yes, it's still weird. And here's what's happening in our area. I've got some quick stats for the Alachua County area. This is the latest data that's just been released from Florida Realtors. And what it does is it talks about right now and compares it to this time last year. So this time last year when rates were in the 5s to this time where we're holding steady in the 6s, and we've even started to take a peek at the 7s. So let's compare year over year. The first thing to talk about is closed sales. So closed sales are actually down from this time last year by about 18%. And we're also seeing a dip in cash sales by about 17%. With inflation and the stock market going crazy, people don't have that same lump of cash that they had during the pandemic. The average sales price has ticked down just a little bit from last year by about 4.4%, but what's interesting to note is the average sales price is actually up from where it was in the fall and winter. Median time to contract, meaning from when the sign goes into the ground until an offer is accepted, is 17 days, which is quite a bit higher than the 6 days we were seeing, but historically, when houses could sit on the market for months, things are still moving relatively quickly. The big cornerstone of today's topic is going to be inventory. New inventory is actually down about 21.3% over last year, and our month's supply, while it's up 58.3%, you'd think that sounds like a lot, right? Well, 1.2 months this time last year to 1.9 months this time. Until we hit 4 to 6 months, we're not in a balanced market, and until we hit above 6 months, we're not in a buyer's market. Right now, I think this market is gonna just be kind of a slow burn. Think like a smoldering campfire instead of a raging forest fire. And according to the chief economist at NAR, the National Association of Realtors, Lawrence Young, home sales are trying to recover and are highly sensitive to changes in mortgage rates. Yet, at the same time, multiple offers on starter homes are quite common, implying more supply is needed to fully satisfy demand. It's a unique housing market. Unique, weird, choose the adjective of your choice, but a lot of experts are agreeing that right now is just kind of a funky time. The interest rates are one of the main drivers right now. As they creep up, they could price buyers out or scare them silly, but even as those buyers pull out of the market, it's still not enough to bridge the gap between how much demand we have and how few houses we have to sell. And when I say inventory is historically low, I really mean historically low. In this Forbes article, it was really interesting because Jack McDowell, who's the chief investment officer and co-founder at the Palisades Group, said inventory is approximately 46% below the historical average dating back to 1999. While a lot of these stats seem to be foreshadowing something potentially much more ominous, honestly, I think what it points to more directly is that things are going to continue to be weird and a little bit strange, but we're not diving off of a cliff. Danielle Hale, who's a chief economist at Realtor.com, puts it this way, and I happen to agree. If current economic conditions persist with elevated mortgage rates and home prices amid scarce inventory, the market is likely in for a long, slow climb and a few bumps along the way. And I think those speed bumps are going to be things like interest rates and prices. And according to KCM, they interviewed a bunch of experts in our field, and a lot of people are predicting prices are set to increase over the next few years. You can see on this graph that we're going to see a little bit of a dip in certain areas, not necessarily in ours, but next year you're going to see an increase of 1.09%. That's not huge, but it still means you're paying more than you are right now. And it always comes back to inventory. I'm sure you're sick of hearing me say the word inventory, but supply and demand is the main driver of all markets. And partly why we have such low inventory is not only because of lack of new builds, but it's also because you have a lot of homeowners who are sitting pretty with an interest rate of 2, 3, or 4%, and they are terrified to sell that house to move into something new at 6 or 7%. Bottom line, Things are weird and they're gonna stay weird. But weird does not mean doom. Weird does not mean a crash. Weird just means there's gonna be a bit of ebb and flow. But my point is, ownership of a home is going to gain wealth and value for you over time. So getting into a property sooner rather than later is generally going to be a recipe for success. Don't give up gained value for the next few years waiting for a deal. And if you're sitting in a house that no longer meets your needs, but you're terrified of today's interest rates and how you can afford a mortgage for a new house, let me show you the tools that you already have accessible to you to get you in your dream home and within your budget. I'm Lindsey Johnson, your resource for all things real estate. See you next time.